If you've been thinking about relocating to Idaho, you are not going to want to miss a single minute of this video. I have a very special treat for y'all today. I have two of the most respected individuals in our industry here in the state of Idaho. Addie, a very successful and prestigious loan officer, as well as Nate, who is our team lead. And together, the three of us make up the Living in Idaho team. We are going to take a deep dive into the most frequently asked questions. This conversation was so good. It covered a very wide variety of topics, from very serious things about market conditions and interest rates to less serious things, just really curious questions about snow or community and what have you. There is literally an answer for everyone in this video. So, with no further ado, we are going to dive right in. Let me bring on Nate and Addie, and we will get to your most frequently asked questions. Okay. In no particular order, these are the most frequently asked questions. So, whoever wants to answer, feel free.
Do we get buzzers?
Buzzer.
Ding.
Ding.
Just
Okay. Question numero uno. This is a lighthearted one. Do I need snow tires?
Ooh, ding. That was me. All right. So, yeah, we get that question all the time. What's the weather like? We're leaving from California, someplace warm. We're nervous about driving in the snow. What are we to expect? Well, the answer is yes, you could have snow tires, or no, you don't need them. I've lived here my whole life. I've the local on the team. I've had every type of vehicle you can imagine. I've had a front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, all wheel drive, four wheel drive, a big truck, small truck, everything kind of in between. Um, I've had off road tires, I've had snow tires, I've had all terrain tires, I've had everything you could possibly imagine. And the big thing is just to drive slow, leave 15 minutes early to work. You don't need to be driving like a maniac. It's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Just be chill, be normal. Of course, someone's going to get in that car accident on the freeway because they are panicking and they didn't leave early when they should. Long story short, Idaho winters are not that crazy, right? Especially in the Treasure Valley in the Boise area. We get snow. A lot of times say it snows on a Friday, it's gone by Monday, and it's like an inch maybe, maybe 2 inches. Sometimes, the exception to the rule, we'll get a little bit. We'll get 2 to 4 inches, but that's very rare. Snow tires, I've had snow tires and they just sat in my car or something, or they sat in my garage for years. I never touched them.
Waste of
Um,
money.
Waste of money. Yeah, absolutely. So you do not need snow tires. Idahoans, when it snows, when you're learning how to drive, we go to parking lots, like huge parking lots, and we spin cookies. We just practice in the snow. When you guys come up here and you're a little anxious or a little nervous, just go to an empty parking lot in the middle of the day or in the evening and just spin cookies, have fun. You kind of get used to how the vehicle turns in the snow, how to correct it, how to be safe. Um, yeah, Idaho snows are pretty mellow.
So, for those of you who have a teenager, Nate will actually volunteer to teach them how to drive in the
Oof.
snow when you relocate here as a closing gift.
We have a long waiting list, so make sure you give me at least like what 2 years in advance to get on the list.
oh my gosh, no way. I think in all seriousness, though, there's less moisture and ice, which ice is what you can't
Right.
manage. So when there's less ice, it really is what Nate's saying with just patience and not being ridiculous and hyper reactive. Ice, you just stay home. So fortunately, not a lot of ice situations.
Yes.
And there's a big difference between North Idaho and where we're at. North Idaho, yeah, you get a lot of snow. You probably should have snow tires or four wheel drive or both. Right here in the valley, it's pretty mellow. You know.
Boise wins over North Idaho for those of you who are contemplating both
There
almost
you go.
every time. Just saying. Okay. Next question is, how are people affording homes with these crazy rates? How are
Yeah, I
people
think
making it work?
ding, 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 ding. I think that lands on me. So one of the biggest things, it's a frequently asked question, obviously on the show here or the episode. How are people affording these mortgage payments? And it is confusing, just as the random consumer, you hear and see people buying, they do the same thing we do, not a lot of different. How are they digesting such high payments? Most commonly, it is what's called a temporary interest rate buy down, often referred to as a seller or builder paid buy down. And what that is, that it's separate than just purchasing a lower interest rate and paying a ton of closing costs. And Nate and I dive into the details of using closing costs for a better structuring of your loan. But the gist is it's either for 2 or 1 year, you get a reduction in your interest rate, which then lowers your monthly payment. And this is very, very impactful. We're talking anywhere between 200 upwards to 600 month reduction in your payment for that first year. And then the reduction cuts in half for the second year. And then the third year is when the full payment and the full interest rate would come into effect. And that is allowing a lot of buyers approximately 24 months to time the market for a refinance. So allowing interest rates to reduce and then working with me on restructuring their loan for a full term lower interest rate. So there's pros and cons, and Nate and I have learned talking to hundreds of people all over the country about this. Everyone's situation is different, right? Everyone has a certain capacity. They might or might not have savings. They might have more cash or gift from family, all these different circumstances. So that's the blanketed answer, but it is very specific. So that's why Nate and we love chatting with you and getting those little details so we can give you a customized strategy and answer.
Thank you, Addie.
You're welcome.
Okay, next question is the job market. We get lots of questions about what the job market is like here.
Ooh, Addie, do you want to start that one, and then I'll take over? I'll do the half buzzer at the end.
Yeah, I think we split the sandwich there
Sure.
because it's two kind of buckets.
Yeah.
We often get a lot of people asking if their current income or job qualifies to buy a home in the Boise area because they're relocating, right? So it does if your employer approves you to be fully remote without any change to your compensation, right? So that is the very first thing we typically ask people, because you're going to need that if you need financing, right? And we do verify it on the lending side. Another scenario, if you're a business owner, you're self-employed, you're a business owner, we love working with you. However, you have another set of circumstances if your job or your business isn't transferable or remote. One example would be, say you've got a brick and mortar salon and you're a hairstylist and you've been cutting hair for 2 decades. Well, if you're relocating, you don't have a client list here, right? So an underwriter isn't going to approve your loan most likely unless we come up with some other set of circumstances or a game plan. So the job piece of it's really, really big. And I'll let Nate go through kind of job market opportunities because we've seen a lot of people come up and get jobs very quickly as well.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. A lot of the people that we have been working with, they have remote jobs. So it's great because they can work from Florida, California, New York, Boise. I mean, it's all the same, right? They're working online, they're working from a computer. So remote jobs are going to be the most flexible. They're going to be the easiest transition for people who want to relocate and keep their current job. What we've done in the past too is we've had people who have, say, a corporate job. They just opening up a new location here in the valley, and they're able just to basically keep
Transfer.
everything in place, just transfer over. Exactly. And that's easy to work with as well. Things that you kind of run into more difficulty with. We just spoke with a gentleman who works at a casino. Well, Idaho has no casinos. There's no gambling here in the valley. So you can't just come from Caesars Vegas to Caesars Idaho because it doesn't exist. So if you're working in that kind of line of work, you're gonna have to find a little bit more creative ways to make that happen. But Addie, we've been successful with having people who don't even have a job currently lined up, but they have an offer letter in hand saying, "Hey, we're going to be starting on January
Yep.
1." Perfect. Okay, here's my offer letter. Addie and his team, they're able to take that and kind of run with Addie. Do you want to kind of touch base on that too?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So, and once again, I can't stress enough having Rick reach out to us and set up a conversation with Nate and I because we can give you as much information as possible, but a lot of it is specific to your scenario, your work
Yeah.
history, your line of work, what you plan to do. Have you been part time or not? Bonuses, salary, what's your situation? So we're just giving you a broad stroke. But in regards to getting approved financing for somebody starting a job here, we had an individual in Florida coming to Boise. Usually we're getting an offer letter from the new employer. And once you get that offer letter, me and my team actually work with your new employer on a refinement of that letter in multiple versions to suffice required underwriting guidelines. So the basics are going to be a start date, a guaranteed pay rate, and description of the job. And that acts as a placeholder for current pay stubs in the state of Idaho. So that is the general kind of explanation of how we're getting um, offer letters approved so that you can hopefully be landing here, closing on your home, and starting on your job all in a very close timeline in a matter of same day in some situations. And if it's a very, very strong offer letter with history, we've done 1 to 2 months prior to starting the job, we've closed on the new home. So there's a lot of things that we need to do in here and questions we need to ask you to explain the options. But hopefully, Rachel, hopefully the way I'm explaining isn't like super confusing.
Yeah, no, I think you are very, very clear. I think the most important thing for everyone to understand is that all the answers to these questions, especially when it comes to finance, really the only way that we can 110% fulfill the answer to that question about you is if we're having a conversation
Right.
with you and we're able to go back and forth and ask questions because ultimately this is your purchase and it's specific to you and your family. Okay,
Well,
next.
hold on.
Oh,
Before we jump on, before we move on to the next
Oh,
question, when I
Nate
was
Boss
growing
Man.
up, no. When I was a kid, right before we bought our first home, I had so many people just give me wrong advice, right? You get your friends, your
Oh,
family who bought a
it's
house
horrible.
from somebody, they just had bad advice. And so we can't really just say it enough. Give us a
No.
call, text us, email us, reach out to us because your friend who bought a house from somebody 15 years ago might not have current information today. And they're probably not in the real estate industry and they're not giving you very accurate info. So just please reach out. Any questions you have, even if you're just interested in like the process, right? You don't know until you know, right? Do I need to have a job work history for 2 years? Well, maybe not. We've helped people get into a home who haven't even started their job yet. Like we talked about that offer letter in hand. I mean, that's as good as cash. So just give us
well,
a call, reach out.
I'm glad you brought that up, Nate, too, because I would say this year I have spent more time becoming familiar and gaining experience on alternate financing options than I ever have. Um, for example, like I love that you brought up the self-employed situation. Particular individual, their employer switched up out of nowhere to a 1099 from a W-2. So technically, even though she
Okay.
has the same job, she switched over as self-employed now. Same company, same all this stuff. Like
Wow.
per a lot of the guidelines and things you would hear from other people, oh, you can't get a loan anymore. I was actually able to explore non-conforming loans and find an option for this individual, which I had never seen before, or really had the time or effort or a situation warranting looking into it. But now we're seeing alternative financing options really open up for, and when I say alternative, it's not like back in the day what people hated about real estate and what made it, like things that make sense but don't fit traditional guidelines. Do we have brokered options? And we really, really do. So we want to hear the details because we want to help you out, you know?
Yeah, and this one's not on the list, but I
Mm.
often get like just listening to Addie talk. You guys, for those of you who don't know how much I adore both Addie and Nate, and I just think they're both total rock stars. Let me just throw that back out there. I get asked all the time, does it really matter who I work with for my loan? Should I just go to where I bank or should I use the builder's loan officer or whatever it is? And 100%, it absolutely matters. And it is tough for us if you are going the route of getting a loan for your home, if you
Mm.
are not working with Addie or someone we recommend for a whole slew of reasons. We've seen deals fall through on both sides. And at the end of the day, not all lenders, just like not all real estate agents, are created equal. So I want you guys to answer that question. Does it matter who you work with to get your loan?
Thing. Yes, yes, it does. And I think, Addie, when we have these, when you guys book a Zoom call with us, you get a little bit of an idea of who we are and why we got into the industry. And Addie, I'll let you kind of take this over, but Addie got into the business because he had a horrible experience, right? And he never wants
Mhm.
that to be that for you because it can be a nightmare. If you're not working with a team who knows what they're doing, real estate can be many things, and it can be an absolute nightmare if you have people who are just inexperienced and
Oh, it's so
just in over
sad.
their head.
It's really sad.
Yeah, and I think I would add on to as a real life story, even that happened recently with someone. I got a call over the weekend and they couldn't get a hold of the lender that they were using, and it was a bank and it was a credit union, right? Like, oh, well, I need a pre approval letter for this offer. This is a real thing. And I'm like, well, why didn't you ask your lender? And like, well, they're not available right now. I was like, well, why is that? Because they don't work on the weekends because they work at a bank or a credit union. Okay, well, let's hear about your story. I ask further questions about the story and I find out and I go, there's no way your loan's getting approved if everything you just told me was true. And she goes, what? And I was like, if everything you told me was true, your loan will not get approved. And it was really tough for me to say that to this individual. So they thought they were good to go. The particular person they were working with shoved it in to get approved and said, go find a house. Don't worry about anything. We get through the weekend, we come to Monday, right? And I'm staying in touch. I was like, I think I have some alternative options for you, but let's stick with this person that you started this whole story with and get some answers. She sends me a screen grab of what the lender had said from the bank because she was texting like, hey, can I get an approval letter? What's going on with my loan, this or that? I think we might have some issues here. And the response was this: well, you have money and a good credit score, so I think we might as well try. That was the strategy to get the
Crazy.
loan approved.
Oh,
And
Crazy.
what I was explaining to this individual is like, hey, one of the biggest difference between using an independent lender and someone that works at a cubicle or a pull-up window of a bank or a credit union, us independent, we only get paid if you close your transaction and
Right.
do your loan through me. So all
Right.
the videos, all the Zoom calls, all the phone calls, all the effort is up front. So even if you go somewhere with that, I still don't get a dollar from my family. I don't. But I certainly have a lot of incentive to work hard, close your deal,
Hmm.
be transparent, and act in your
yeah.
best interest 24/7 because your success is how I pay my bills, right? Going
Mhm.
to the bank or the credit union, they get a small base salary and zero incentive if your loan goes through or not, which is why you get answers of like, we might as well try, and instruction to go look for a home in the meantime.
Yeah.
And
I'm
just
Crazy.
being
all the
I'm not
heartbreaking
trying to be, it
things.
was very, very serious. Like
Yeah.
I actually
Yeah.
lost sleep over it. Like going to my wife, I'm like, I cannot believe this individual's entire strategy for someone's home purchase is to, well, we might as well see. Lastly, bank and credit union mortgage representatives are not required to be independently licensed. Me, I've got 30 to 50 hours of continuing education and took an extremely hard test to get my license. Banks fall under the FDIC federal insurance plan. Makes no sense.
Mm-mm.
No sense. So they respectfully, you find a lot of people that don't know what they're doing. And we like Rachel, Nate, and I, we're not messing around. This is your family relocating from across the country. You're
Right.
certainly going to measure twice and cut once. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'll get off the soapbox, but it's like,
Right.
No,
it's
it's
a
so
real thing.
important that people understand that. And as far as who gives you advice, like Nate was speaking to earlier, whether it's Uncle Joe or Aunt Susie or an investor or just a new agent or your friend's agent,
Social media.
yeah, it's I don't recall the exact number, but for every transaction an agent does, it's equivalent to like so many months or years of experience. So someone can
Mm-hmm.
be an
Sure.
agent for 10 years part-time and only do one or two deals a year. And that
Mm-hmm.
means their experience is very, very tiny compared to someone who could be young and busting out a ton of business a couple years in. That's someone who has a lifetime of experience. So when you work with our team, you get the number one relocation team in Idaho. years and years and years and years of experience as far as agents go. And then with Addie, you get mega influencer, educator in the industry. So you kind of get the cream of the crop.
Well,
Yeah,
and a
it's
big
a super.
difference too.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nate.
No, and just a big difference between like a normal lender, normal real estate agent compared to what we try to do is we don't work 24 hours a day, right? Are we going to answer your phone call at 2 a.m. in the morning? Maybe, but most likely not, right? But we are
I
going to work
have.
nights. So I'm sure we all have, but
Yeah. I'm sure
we're
you
available
would.
nights and yeah,
Please don't call me at
yeah.
2 a.m., but
Just no, I got two little kids. But I
two
mean,
or
we work
four? You
nights.
got four.
Well,
You forgot
I
half
mean,
of
two
them.
babies. I have two babies. The older kids, they don't count. I mean, they're
They're
self-sufficient.
contributors now.
That's right. That's right. They have jobs, dude. They mow my neighbor's lawn for money, which is crazy.
That's awesome.
The best
But
kids.
but
My
we
future
work.
son-in-law.
Oh gosh. But what I tried to say is we're available, right? You get somebody on the bank, hey, I can't reach my lender because they work a 9 to 5. I mean, realistically, most people are shopping after they get off work, right? What happens at 5 o'clock when they want to make a deal? Well, I can't work it out until the morning. Well, what happens when things are moving fast and you have to be able to make quick decisions? Well, we're available, right? We Rachel was away. I was heading up north for a vacation, and out of the blue, we get this lovely couple who calls us. They're like, "Hey, we're here. We want to look at properties." And I wasn't available, but we made it happen, right? I made phone calls. I got them scheduled with builders. I got people to open doors for them. Addy, I can't tell you how many times I've reached out to him, in the evening. Hey, I need a pre-approval letter. We're submitting a loan. Perfect. Get in 15 minutes. That's not common when you're working with the big bank, right? They just do their things at their own time because, like Addy said, they get paid hourly, right? Maybe a salary. We get paid when it's done, and so we have a lot of skin in the game to make sure we're available and working hard for you guys.
Okay, next question that we get asked probably every single day, at least a couple times a day, is when is the best time to buy? I heard the rates are going down. When is that supposed to happen?
It's another
Gang,
cut sandwich. Go ahead, Nate.
today is the best day to buy, right?
Uh,
Anytime someone's interested in buying a home, hey, I want to get into the market. I don't have a home. Hey, I want to buy an investment property. Hey, I want to do this. I want to do that. Perfect. Today's the day to buy, honestly. That's what I was always told growing up and getting into the industry by some very wise people. And the reason is we can't predict what's going to happen tomorrow, right? We don't know what the future pertains. Um, we were told the beginning of the year that the Fed was going to lower interest rates. Well, they didn't, right? But now they are. So I mean, there's never a good time if you're ready to make the decision, right? Now's the time, and we can always handle things as they come. Back in 2020 and 21, it was wild. It was crazy. It was the Wild West. When interest rates were so low, people were buying over the appraised value of the home, right? It was a feeding
mhm.
frenzy. Money
Way
was
over.
cheap. Yeah, money was cheap to buy or to borrow, excuse me. And so anybody and everybody, they were getting loans and they were spending more. They were spending more than what the house is worth. Today, right? Fast forward to middle of 2024, it's a great time. It's a great time to buy. There's not a lot of competition in the market currently. They'll say it's low demand, low inventory, right? So sellers are not necessarily in the driver's position right now. Buyers are able to get concessions, they're able to get credits, they're able to get homes at appraised value or under, right? We get people, hey, I want to get a deal, right? We get people calling a lot. They're like, hey, I want a deal. What kind of deal are you going to give me? And I ask them, I'm like, what does that mean to you? Like, oh, I want to get a house. I want to get a great deal on a price on a home. It's like, okay, great. Are you willing? Is a good deal getting the house for appraised value? And a lot of times they haven't thought of it that way. They just want the house for as cheap as possible, right? But if you're getting the house for what it's worth, even if the seller's contributing concessions towards, lending fees or anything like that, I mean that's a great deal, right? Back a couple of years ago, we had a client, $160,000. They offered a home. Sorry, let me rephrase that. They offered a home to buy in cash. They offered the seller $160,000 over asking, and they didn't get it. They didn't get the house, which is crazy.
It's
Crazy.
insane.
$160,000. $160. That's unheard of. And
Yeah.
today it's not that. So Long-winded answer. Today is the day to buy, and we could figure out things. The interest rates are higher. Right? They don't always stay high forever, right? We
No.
can figure out a process, a plan for when interest rates do come down. Like Addie talked about, the 2-1 buy down. That's kind of that time frame. So when the interest rates do drop, right, you're able to take advantage of it. You're getting the house for appraised value or below, and you're able to just take advantage of that and worry about the interest rates when they drop. Addie, your half.
Yeah, I love the way you put that. And I would like to emphasize too, it's like we do take it case by case because we do get some people who, yes, this might be the time to buy, but they just can't do it for certain
Sure.
reasons. Job, savings, credit, right? So we always coach and encourage people, even who are forced to be on the sidelines for those particular things, that their efforts to get those three boxes checked and in line and ready to buy are the same as saving money. Like looking at the effort and the research toward your credit, your job, all that type of stuff is just as important and valuable as cash. It's an unspoken currency. So please meet with us. We've had plenty of people. That's why I like the early reach outs too. Hey, this is what you might need to do to your home to get ready to sell. This is what research you might need to do to be in line to get an offer in Idaho in advance so we can have the employment piece together. So there are sometimes people's particular situations don't make it now, even though it should be, right? But one thing I will warn people is there could be quite a bit of a shift from a current, maybe neutral to buyer market over to a neutral and seller. And that being the current 2024 presidential election. This is a very big milestone. Nate, Rachel, and I have probably, we'll call it sidelined approximately 40 to 55 families that we've spoken with the last 8 months that are just in a sit and wait situation per their choice and their comfort level. And us three, we're always going to respect comfort levels because in the end, the right decision is what's best for you and your family, right? That's what we always believe in. That's the core foundational belief of us as a team is what the right time is what's best for your family.
Right.
But Nate reminds people, got a list of 50 families who are going to jump and do this. So I explain that because you could get a somewhat flooded buyer market, shifting it from those beautiful $10,000, $20,000 builder credits that we're able to get, the free updates or flexible closing time or single offer without negotiating or going over ask. If we flood people and buyers, those beautiful parts of buying right now could disappear very,
Could
very
disappear.
quickly.
Oh,
And
and they
at
will.
the
Absolutely.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, what I always tell people is your house is going to be worth double in 10 years what it is today. And California is not getting cleaner, safer, or more free tomorrow.
The country of California, I call it.
The country of California. It's just not
Sorry.
getting better. I'd move before the election if I were you, but
I mean,
just
I was just talking. I could not believe the cost of living for some of the houses there. I mean, we were just talking to that same gentleman yesterday, Nate and I, and breaking down his cost of living, small mortgage, taxes, insurance. He was spending $50,000 a year on a house, and that's before
Crazy.
water,
Crazy.
sewer, garbage, before
oh, that's
utilities, and
before the $2,000
that was
fine for filling up your
just
bathtub and watering your lawn.
50. How is someone supposed to retire with a $50,000 a year overhead for the physical building, not including utilities, with sales tax? Oh, just
Yeah. And like I
insane.
said, a fine
Crazy.
for taking a bath and watering your lawn. Literally.
I
So,
how much is the fine?
oh, I don't know. I always hear people throw around 2000. I don't know if they're joking, if it's
Yeah,
literally
right.
2000 or if it's, I don't know, because I have free irrigation water here in Idaho. I use our irrigation water to water our lawn, and I water it multiple times a day because I got a big old doggy in the backyard who burns our grass when he goes potty. So we water a
Oh,
lot and it doesn't cost us anything. But yeah, today's the day to buy, everybody. Next question is, how do we view houses if we can't make it there?
Ooh,
And
that
when
was
should we
me.
come? Let's do a two-part. And when should we come? We get that a lot.
Yeah, yeah. When you should come, it's a great question. In my opinion, avoid March like the plague. And let me tell you why. Because March, after the winter, people here are just excited. We have like patio season, right? Idahoans are kind of weird because like the second there's like a nice warm day, they're like asking all their servers, "Hey, can we sit outside?" It's like, well, it's like 50 degrees out. Why do you want to sit outside? Idaho, we have a patio season. In March, you're gonna get every season. It could happen in one day, right? You can get winter here in the morning, or it's snowing, sleeting, cold, windy, and then it could be like 75 degrees in the afternoon. March is just very unpredictable. So if you want that constant, like when to come, it's anytime but March is my 2 cents. Summers here are great. Early summer is awesome. June is really fun. I mean, you still kind of get the cool mornings, nice hot summer days, and then like the cool nights. I'm a big fan of June. October might be my favorite month out of the year. End of September, October. Falls here are very special. All the leaves and the trees
Very
are
special.
changing. Super, especially downtown. Downtown is super pretty. It's clean, right? It's really well kept, and they always have like something going on. So September, October is a great time. Big fan of that. The other part of the question was how do we view houses? Is that right?
Yeah, if they're
Yeah,
not coming, remote
yeah, no,
purchases.
that's another. We've done it all, right? That's what we specialize in is relocating. So 99% of our business is that, right? So we're a very tech driven team, right? We try to use all of the assets, all the tools that we have in today's world. So Zoom, right? We do a lot of Zoom calls, FaceTime, any type of like video recording, right? We've had clients that they've never been to Idaho before, and they're like, "Hey, we're not able to make it until we move. Long story short, we just need you to show us houses." And so yeah, we do that all the time, right? I'll go in there, right? We'll set up a time. We'll set up a time where we can all meet via FaceTime, or if I need to do a video recording and send it to you later, we can do that as well. But yeah, we can show homes remotely, right, with our cell phones, which is really, really handy because if you don't live here, right, and you're searching for homes on Zillow or Realtor.com, you're not able to jump out here in 2 seconds notice, but we are, right? We're here. Adi always says we're the boots on the ground, right? We're the team here that we can do it for you. So yeah, we can schedule any type of remote viewing you need. And if you are here, if you're coming here for a trip, that's great too. We'll open the door for you when you're here, and we'll meet. And yeah, we can with technology these days, we can do a lot of things for you guys when you're not here, which is really great.
And if you are planning on coming to visit, the sooner you let us know, the better, because we can build out a self-guided tour for you. And it takes quite a bit of time on our end to create those plans and map them out. And so the more time you give us, the better and more specific the plan will be for you and your family. And also, it helps Addie get ahead and help lay out a roadmap for you to your purchase. So, really, honestly, the sooner the better. I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, I didn't want to waste your guys' time. I thought I needed to pay off this credit card first or know the exact day I'm coming or whatever." I promise it's not a waste of time. The earlier, the better. Let us tell you when the perfect time is.
And we don't take credit cards. We don't charge for the meeting.
We do not charge for the meeting. And that comes to our final, most frequently new asked question is, do I need to pay your guys's commission now? I heard all these things on the news and I'm really confused. How does it work? Who pays you? Can I put it in my loan? All the things.
Yeah, maybe that's another two-part question. I think I'll start and then yeah, I'll let you take it from there. That sound good?
Yeah, you want me to start?
No, I said I'll start, then I'll let you
Oh yeah.
finish. So yeah, right now there's a lawsuit that happened with the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, basically stating that sellers are no longer able to state on the MLS how much they're willing to pay a buyer agent in commission, right? Before there's like a little section for the co-op fee, right? Which goes to the buyer's agent. So now basically that's just been removed. It doesn't mean that sellers are not able to pay buyer agents commission. It just means it's no longer stated on the MLS. So moving forward, right? It's a new thing. It just happened on the 17th, so like 3 days ago. It just happened relatively recently. So we're still kind of navigating everything together. What we can say is a lot of the builders that we've spoken with and we do business with currently, they say things are not going to be changing. They're still going to be doing business as usual, taking care of, because they understand that they're getting their business mostly through buyers agents, right? They're the ones bringing the clients, the buyers. And so with buyers, it's going to be, sorry, with builders, it's going to be relatively the same. With resale, it's most likely going to be the same. We can't say it's going to be case by case, and right now we're kind of speculating on that. But if you put yourself in the same position, right, as like a builder, for example, if you're a seller wanting to compete with new construction and you have relatively the same price, it's most likely in your best interest to offer some type of compensation to the buyers because somebody else is already, right? If you have a house, ideally, the same spec, same price point, same neighborhood, what's the differencing factor? Well, you have to pay an agent, and that's probably what it's going to be. So moving forward in 2025, kind of what that looks like, things are going to be negotiable as they've always has been. Buyers agents commission is no longer stated on the MLS. We ask that if it's not and they're not willing to pay us, we ask that you allow us to negotiate.
Yeah.
Um,
And
that's pretty much the bulk of it.
it makes it even more important who you select to represent you in your purchase because we are going to negotiate those commissions on your behalf. And not all negotiators are created equal.
Well,
Um,
you gotta add to that too is like how many real estate
yeah.
agents are like part-time real estate agents or not even part-time. They just got their license to sell their own property, right? There's
Mhm.
what 80% of Idaho real estate agents do less than 5 deals a year. I think it's even less than that. I think it's
Yeah.
less than three. So the bulk of Idaho agents, they're part-timers, if that,
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
it's important.
you definitely want someone who's real busy. And so, Addie, the question I hear often is, if I do end up having to pay my agent myself, can I include it in the loan? Can it be included in the loan for the house?
Yeah. So currently, as all banking world law goes, we are also on a wait and see
Hmm.
situation. So it's the same as it's never been. You cannot finance in commission to the loan of the home. It doesn't coincide with the value of the actual asset. We'll put it that way, right? So you would be on a certain limitation within the negotiation process. What's mostly I deal with the lend side is the credits received from the seller of the builder. So the commission and the credits won't be impacted. It's the same law that we've moved throughout. But as of right now, there is no financing of the buyer agent commission. That is where the negotiation piece and coming to some sort of an agreed upon both sides number is very, very, very important and can make or break you getting your transaction. Where I'm specifically hoping to see change in that in the coming months would be our dear veterans and all of the VA loans that we do.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service, veterans. We absolutely love working for you, and you've earned the right by serving our country to take advantage of utilizing your VA loan entitlement, which is a unique opportunity to purchase a home with a zero down payment and hopefully with contributions from the sellers to not even have to pay your closing costs. So we are hoping to allow for some sort we are hoping, like I make the decision, I am hoping to see some changes to
Addie,
allow
you
some
should make all the
flexibility.
decisions.
I agree.
I wish.
The
I agree.
financing world would be a much better place.
That's what I mean, to lighten the mood. I hope they allow some sort of flexibility on the structuring for our vets because they deserve it. And I don't want to
Right.
Yeah.
see those individuals who served our country, bless their souls, be impacted by it. But we'll see. Like any change in the world, it's not easy. In my opinion, I think what's unfortunate about this particular situation and why all this came to surface, right? Let's back up the bus. Back up the bus. There was a small amount of individuals, not even on the West Coast. I'm not going to name the states, but it was the Midwest who unfortunately not going to name states, but let's narrow
Don't
it
you
down to
know?
9 who were taking advantage of undereducated home buyers. And
Yep.
we're essentially double dipping and not being transparent and honest, which then surfaced the National Association of Realtors to be in a lawsuit. And then the National Association of Realtors decide to settle without talking to all the agents in the
Right.
country.
Who
It is
pay them?
unconstitutional. And
Yeah.
the entire reasoning of all these changes is supposedly to create more transparency. Unfortunately, right now we're in this middle piece where they're trying to figure all out, and it's not very transparent, which is very counterintuitive, right?
Right.
So give it some time. I'm looking forward to doing another video when we have some more highlights rather than confused lights of the topic. But just know choosing your team makes the biggest difference right now. Because to what Rachel said, you want good negotiators, you want people who are working with this community of real estate professionals and coming to terms that are either fair or very favorable for you.
Mhm.
That's what you want,
And our
not
team
the
is
opposite.
very respected here. So if you are thinking about relocating, do not hesitate. Give us a call, shoot us a text, or write us an email because we've got your back when you're relocating to Idaho. Check out this video linked right here or here for more information. And until the next time, be blessed.